There's something surreal about sitting in a cap and gown while strangers clap for you, and your own family doesn't even bother to show up. I remember thinking, as I looked out at the cheering crowd, wow, this would be such a great moment if I didn't feel like a ghost in my own life. Let me back up. I'm Noah. Small town kid. The quiet one, at every family dinner. You know, the guy who gets asked to fix the Wi-Fi, but not to be in group photos. Born third out of 4 kids, a middle child by proximity and a background character by default. My older sister, Megan, valedictorian, dance team captain, once got a standing ovation for parallel parking. My younger brother, Sean, football MVP, homecoming king, once got a tattoo and my parents framed it like it was a diploma. Me? I got a "that's nice" when I brought home a 4.0 and a full scholarship letter from the state university. My mom said, "Well, at least you won't be a burden." That was the closest thing to a "congratulations" I got. To be fair, I didn't expect much growing up. Our family had this unspoken rule: attention is earned, but only in very specific ways. If you were loud, flashy, or had a varsity jacket, boom, golden child status unlocked. But if you kept your head down and worked hard in silence, you might as well have been the fridge light, useful, invisible, and only noticed when it stops working. I started working part-time jobs when I was 15. Grocery bagger, busboy, stock clerk at a hardware store. I used to study in the break room with a bag of off-brand pretzels and a cracked TI-83 calculator. Got weird looks. Got used to it. When I got the full ride to college, books, tuition, housing, the works, I cried in the dorm bathroom the first night. Not because I was scared, but because it was the first time I felt like I might actually be okay. Like I'd finally outrun the feeling of being disposable. 4 years went by fast. I majored in architecture, minored in surviving off cold pizza and dollar store ramen. Interned, networked, even did freelance design work for small businesses to save money. By senior year, I wasn't just passing. I was thriving. Dean's List. Job offers lined up. Credit score? Higher than my brother's GPA ever was. But the closer graduation got, the more I realized my family wasn't saying anything. No texts. No calls. No "can't wait to see you walk across that stage." Just radio silence. So, 1 week before graduation, I messaged the family group chat. The one called Fam Bam 2 Hearts, which was ironic considering half the time it was used to roast each other or drop passive-aggressive emojis. Me. Hey everyone! Just wanted to let you know my graduation is Saturday at 2 p.m. I'll be giving a short speech too. Would love to see you there. 3 hours later, a reply. Not from Mom. Not from Dad. From my sister Megan. Megan. That doesn't make you smart, you know. Degrees are just paper. Followed by a laughing emoji. Then a gif of a guy throwing money into the air. I waited. Nothing else. No, congrats. No, we'll be there. Just that. That was my family's RSVP. I sat on my bed, still in my graduation robe from rehearsal, and stared at my phone like it had personally insulted me. For a moment I thought maybe it's a joke. Maybe they're planning a surprise or... Nope. I knew better. This wasn't new. This was just the grand finale of a long, quiet symphony of dismissal. But what they didn't know was that I had my own surprise coming. Something bigger than a diploma. Something that couldn't be undone with a smug text. Because while they were ignoring me, I was closing on my first house. Yep. 22 years old, full scholarship, zero debt, and a modest 2-bedroom fixer-upper with my name on the loan papers. Not from family help. Not from inheritance. From grit. From budgeting spreadsheets. From ramen-fueled hustle. And after that family chat message, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. But not in anger. Not in revenge. Just clarity. It was time they saw me for who I really was. Graduation day. I tightened my gown, adjusted my cap, and checked the mirror one last time. I looked fine. Like a person who was supposed to be proud. like someone with a future. But under all that, I felt like someone pretending not to notice the one thing missing: support. I got to the auditorium early, mostly because I didn't want to risk walking past any excited parents with signs that said, "We love you, Maddie," or "Our boy made it." I couldn't compete with that energy, not when my own family chat was still dead silent except for my sister's smug message from yesterday. I sat through lineup, checked my phone again like a masochist, and let the ceremony begin. Names were called. Hugs were exchanged. Flashbulbs popped everywhere like fireworks. And when it was my turn, I walked across the stage to polite applause from people who had no idea I was the only one there alone. I held my diploma like it was proof of survival. Not just of college, but of 4 years of being my own cheerleader. Then came the speech. Yeah, I'd been asked to speak. Short and sweet. Something inspiring, the dean said. I was picked because of my GPA, community work, and the fact that I'd interned with 3 different firms while still pulling straight A's. I stood behind the podium and looked out over hundreds of faces. Parents craning necks for a glimpse of their kids. Grandmas wiping tears. Balloons bouncing. No familiar faces for me. But I cleared my throat and smiled anyway. We're told college is where you find yourself. But sometimes it's where you build yourself, piece by piece, from nothing but pressure and resolve. People nodded. A few clapped. Some of us had cheerleaders, and some of us had silence. Some of us had financial backing, and some of us had coupon apps and part-time jobs. The crowd laughed softly. I heard someone mutter, "Facts." But if you're sitting here today, you built something. And no one can take that away from you. Not even silence. A few more claps. Some eyes welled up. But I didn't look at anyone in particular. Not anymore. When it ended, classmates found their families in the crowd like magnets. I found my phone. Still no message. No. Hey, sorry we couldn't make it. No. We're proud of you, bud. Just a new message in the family chat. From my dad. Dad, hope you didn't spend money on a suit. No one cares about speeches. Just get a job. And that? That was my curtain call. I stared at that message for a full minute. Then I took a slow breath, opened my gallery, and uploaded the photo I'd been saving. It was a simple picture. Me. Standing in front of a small 2-bedroom house. Fresh coat of paint. The sold sign still planted in the grass. I had my diploma in one hand and the keys in the other. And I captioned it. No one had to care. I did anyway. Then I hit send. Silence. Literal silence. Not even a seen by notification for a full 20 minutes. Which, if you know how family chats go, is basically a nuclear explosion. When the first typing bubble appeared under my mom's name, I locked my phone. I didn't need whatever guilt sauce they were about to pour on top of their own absence. I deserved to enjoy this day even if I was the only one clapping for myself. So I walked to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and just stared at the house photo again. Not bad for the quiet one. Huh. I don't know if you've ever witnessed a family group chat meltdown in real time, but let me tell you, it's a weird experience when you're the cause, and the entire performance is happening after 4 years of them pretending you didn't exist. It started with Mom. Typing. Then not. Then typing again. Like she was editing a UN peace treaty. Finally. Mom. Why would you post something like that, Noah? No. Congratulations. No. We're proud of you. Just that classic combo of guilt, confusion, and disappointment, as if I had posted a photo of me robbing a bank, not standing in front of a freshly painted 2-bedroom I bought with zero help. I didn't reply. Then came Megan, my sister, Queen of Condescension and Golden Child Hall of Famer. Megan, are you trying to flex? That's kinda desperate, NGL. There it was. Right on cue. If they couldn't celebrate it, they had to belittle it. And then Dad. Dad, no one likes a show-off, son. Remember your roots. My roots? Oh, you mean the part where I worked at a grocery store every weekend while Sean played travel ball and you called me the frugal one. Like it was a compliment? Sure, Dad. I'll remember. Still, I didn't reply. Not because I didn't have 100 snarky comebacks ready, I did. But something in me had changed. I wasn't the kid hoping for their approval anymore. Then, out of nowhere, Cousin Jake, the only family member who once asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, popped in. Jake, you bought a house? Damn. Respect, bro. Followed by Aunt Carol. Aunt Carol. Good for you, honey. That's so grown up. I smiled for half a second, before the group chat promptly turned cold again, like someone had cranked the thermostat down to emotional winter. Almost like those two messages broke some sacred rule of the Ignore Noah Pact. That's when Sean jumped in, my younger brother, former football MVP, current used car philosopher. Sean, we didn't come to your graduation 'cause Mom said you didn't want attention. Don't act surprised now. Ah, the revisionist history maneuver. Classic. Did I ever say I didn't want attention? No. I said I didn't want drama. Big difference. But now, conveniently, I was the one to blame for them ghosting my graduation. Next would be them saying I forgot to send the invite, even though I had receipts. Megan, you've always been like this. Acting all better than us just 'cause you read books or whatever. Cool. So now literacy is a personality flaw. And still, I said nothing. Instead, I scrolled back to my graduation speech notes and reread them. Especially the part about building yourself from nothing. Not for validation. Not for applause. Just because you knew you could. I muted the chat. Then I called my realtor. Because while they were spiraling in their own guilt and jealousy soup, I had an inspection to book and a fence estimate to get. This house wasn't revenge. Okay, maybe like 10% revenge. But 90%? It was the end of the cycle. Of silence. Of asking for scraps. This house was mine, every square foot paid with sleepless nights, group projects, double shifts, coupon apps, and exactly 0 handouts. And I wasn't about to let a few guilt-riddled messages ruin the fact that, for the first time, I had peace. So let them spiral. Let them rewrite history. I had floors to sand, a future to renovate, and a front door no one else had the keys to. After muting the family group chat, I did exactly what any rational person with a new house would do. I spent the next 3 days deep cleaning a microwave that looked like it had survived the Cold War. No clue what the previous owners cooked in there, but I'm 90% sure it had a face and feelings. I mowed the patchy lawn, bought a second-hand couch off a guy named Curtis who insisted on showing me photos of his cat's birthday party, and even assembled a bookshelf without crying. So yeah, I was basically thriving. The plan was to settle in quietly. No Instagram reveal, no. Just moved in. TikTok tour. I wasn't interested in sharing this chapter, not with people who thought my last chapter wasn't even worth reading. Then, 2 weeks after moving in, my best friend Caleb texted. Caleb. Yo. Tell me you're having a housewarming. Don't make me beg. Now, Caleb's been in my corner since sophomore year, when we both got locked out of our dorm in boxers during a fire drill. He once fake cried to get me out of an awkward date. This man deserved a seat at the table, even if it was an IKEA table I built wrong and had to duct tape for stability. So I caved. Me. Fine. This Saturday. 6 p.m., no dress code. No balloons. No chalkboard signs that say home sweet home. I swear I'll evict myself. Caleb. Got it. I'll bring queso and one person who won't steal forks. That Saturday, my place came alive. I invited maybe 15 people. A few college friends. 2 coworkers from my internship. My old manager from the bookstore who once gave me expired peanut butter and called it survival food for finals. No family. Not out of spite, just clarity. I didn't owe them a seat at this table. Not when they mocked every plate I'd ever tried to bring. The party was chill. Music from a Bluetooth speaker that cut out every 10 minutes. Pizza rolls. Someone brought root beer floats. At one point, we played a game where everyone had to guess how many hours I'd spent scraping wallpaper in the guest room. Answer: too many. Then Caleb, bless his sentimental heart, raised a red Solo cup and said, "To Noah. For proving you can build a home, even when no one hands you the blueprint." Everyone clapped. I turned red. Tried to wave it off. But something inside me shifted. This wasn't just a party. This was validation, loud, messy, nacho-stained validation. I was handing out napkins shaped like blueprints. Yes, I thought I was clever, when my phone buzzed. 3 missed calls. From Mom. Then one from Dad. Then a text from Megan. "Megan, why are we seeing Instagram stories of your housewarming party?" I blinked. I hadn't posted anything. But Caleb had. A blurry video of me pretending to be Gordon Ramsay while yelling at boxed mac and cheese. A selfie of the group in front of my fireplace, someone holding up the queso like it was a trophy. Caption: "Proud of my guy. First house. First step. Big future." Apparently, my sister still followed Caleb. Which was weird considering she once called him the guy with cereal for morals. He does eat Frosted Flakes at 2 a.m. Let the man live. Still, I stared at the screen, debating whether to respond. Then came Mom's message. "Mom, you didn't invite us? After everything? Everything? Everything like ignoring 4 years of grind. Dismissing my degree. Calling my house photo bragging. That everything?" I didn't reply. I was too busy fixing a bathroom doorknob and trying to keep Caleb from microwaving a spoon. Don't ask. But inside? I felt something solid. Not anger. Just peace. They weren't hurt because they missed me. They were hurt because they missed their chance to show up for the photo op. To smile and pretend they'd been there all along. But the thing is, I already had a photo. Me. Friends. Laughter. And not a single fake cheer in sight. Sunday morning came with the smell of burned toaster waffles and an aching reminder that I'm not 22 anymore, especially not after lifting a second-hand recliner up the stairs with zero help and a back that sounded like bubble wrap the whole time. The housewarming party had been perfect. Messy. Loud. Imperfect. Real. I was still grinning at the memory of Caleb falling off the armrest mid-toast when I heard it. Knock. 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 Not a delivery knock. Not a wrong house knock. This one had rhythm. Entitlement. I peeked through the blinds. Standing on my porch, holding a casserole dish like a peace offering from the gods? My mother. Wearing sunglasses, clutching her purse like it was a shield, and trying very hard to look composed. Behind her? Dad. Looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. And about 3 steps behind them, like he was trying to pretend he wasn't fully there? Sean. No, Megan. Which was surprising. I assumed she'd be filming it for a vlog or something. I didn't open the door right away. I just looked at them. Through the glass. 3 people who had ghosted my college years. Laughed at my efforts. Ignored my biggest milestones. Now standing on my porch. Holding a casserole. Eventually, I opened the door, mostly because I didn't want them asking the neighbors if I was out of town, while I stood 6 feet away breathing through my nose. "Hey," Mom said softly. I nodded. "We saw the photos. Looked like a nice party." I didn't respond. Dad cleared his throat. "We figured it was time we see the place." I raised an eyebrow. "You figured that now?" He paused. Didn't like the tone. That was always his thing. Be passive-aggressive first, then act wounded when you respond with the same energy. "We didn't mean to miss the graduation," Mom offered. "We were just going through a lot." "I texted," I said simply. She blinked. "I invited you. You replied with degrees are just paper." Her face tensed. Sean suddenly found the neighbor's mailbox fascinating. "That was Megan, not me," Mom muttered. "And Dad said don't waste money on a suit," I added. My dad looked away. They had no defense. Just silence. I let it sit. Then I stepped aside, just a little. You can come in. But only for 5 minutes. I have friends stopping by soon. That was a lie. But I didn't owe them the truth. They shuffled in, like strangers at an open house. Mom made a big show of complimenting the floorboards. Dad tapped a wall and said, "Sturdy." Sean sat on the edge of the couch like it might bite. No one mentioned the party. No one asked who was there. But they all looked around like they were trying to figure out where they would have sat, had they been invited. Mom placed the casserole on the counter like a peace treaty. "Cheesy potatoes," she said. "Your favorite, right?" "Used to be," I replied. Awkward silence. 5 minutes felt like 50. Eventually, Dad broke it. "So, you got a loan?" "I did." "That's a big commitment. Not as big as pretending I didn't exist for 4 years. That landed hard." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Like he was trying to decide between denial and apology, and realized he didn't know how to do either. Mom reached for something else. "We're still family, Noah." "Yeah," I said. "Family who forgot to clap." Silence. Again. Then I smiled. Not bitter. Just done. "Anyway, thanks for stopping by. I've got a full afternoon." They stood, slow and confused. Like tourists being kicked out of a museum early. As I walked them to the door, Sean finally muttered, "It's a nice house." I nodded. "Thanks. Built it without cheers." And I shut the door gently. No slam. No dramatics. Just a firm line. This was my space now. And they didn't own a single square foot of it. That night, the house finally felt like mine. Not because of the keys in my pocket. Not because the deed had my name. But because, for once, no one was telling me who I was supposed to be inside it. No footsteps echoing disappointment. No backhanded compliments from relatives who knew how to tear you down with a smile. Just silence. And for the first time in years, it was welcome. I was sitting on the couch, mug of tea in hand, playlist humming something soft in the background, when my phone buzzed. Megan. I knew better. But I still opened it. "Megan. So I guess you think you've made it now. Face with rolling eyes, a mortgage doesn't make you smart. It makes you a bank's puppet." Classic opener. Then came another message, because she never knew when to stop. "You'll be begging for help when real life hits. Insurance, plumbing, taxes. You're not built for that. But go ahead and post your little homeowner fantasy." For a second, I just stared at the screen. Not in shock, in disappointment. That even now, after everything, she still saw my success as a personal insult. I didn't respond. Just locked the screen and set the phone down. But it buzzed again 5 minutes later. "Megan. Enjoy your ego trip while it lasts. Real adulthood's about more than a paper degree and 4 walls." It was almost impressive, the dedication to missing the point. She wasn't just mad I didn't invite them. She was mad I didn't need them. Because if I could build something without their help, it meant their years of belittling me weren't guidance. They were just cruelty with better PR. And that was something Megan couldn't stomach. But I could. Because I'd lived it. Alone. The nights I stayed up trying to figure out FAFSA on my cracked phone screen. The days I skipped meals so I could make rent. The broken laptop hinge I kept taping back together until I graduated with it. They hadn't seen those chapters. And now they didn't get to claim the ending. So I stood up, walked to the tiny shelf in my hallway, and grabbed the framed photo I had waiting there. My diploma. My house deed. Side by side. Not to flex. Not to brag. But to remind myself that I did it, on my terms, in my time, without applause. I snapped a picture. Clean. Clear. No filters. And added just one caption. "Degrees don't fix water heaters. But they pay for plumbers." Sent. Then muted the chat. Blocked her number. Not because I was angry, but because I was done. Done chasing validation from people who couldn't even spell support. 10 minutes later, Caleb texted. "Caleb. Yo. Was that about Megan?" "Me." She said I wasn't built for real life. "Caleb, Tell her real life just sent me your address for the barbecue next weekend. Face with tears of joy. Me? You bringing queso? Caleb, is the Pope Catholic? I smiled. Because this, the house, the peace, the terrible group chat jokes, this was mine now. And no amount of bitterness from the past could compete with the quiet satisfaction of knowing I'd built something real. Not to prove them wrong. Just to finally prove to myself that they never defined what success looked like. I did. And I wasn't done building yet. A few days passed. No more texts. No calls. No casserole. Just silence. And I was good with that. Really. It was the kind of silence that felt earned, like hanging up on a bad call and realizing the world sounds better without static. I got back into routine. Went to work. Recocked the bathroom. Installed the doorbell camera because Caleb insisted. You never know when your dad might pop up like a cutscene. For once, things felt still. Until I checked my mailbox. I wasn't expecting anything. Mostly just ads, credit card offers, and a mysterious flyer for salsa lessons. Caleb, again. But in the middle of the pile was an envelope. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name. The handwriting stopped me. It wasn't my mom's. Not Megan's. Not Dad's tight, all-caps style. But it was familiar. I opened it slowly. Inside was a letter. Real pen on real paper. No sarcasm. No passive aggression. Just a few lines in neat, careful writing. Noah. I know I've never said this directly, but I watched every step you took, even when the rest of them pretended not to. I saw the late nights. The wins. The silence you walked through alone. And I just want you to know. I'm proud of you. I never said it out loud, because in this family, silence is mistaken for strength. But I've been wrong. You deserve better. You deserve to be seen. If you're ever willing to talk, I'm here. No pressure. No expectation. Uncle James. I sat down. Uncle James. My dad's older brother. The one who always sat quietly at family gatherings, sipping coffee like it was a religion. He never chimed in. Never joined the dogpiling. Never intervened either. But he watched. He was the one who quietly handed me a used laptop when mine died during finals. No note. Just a sticky with, "Try this," written on it. The one who slipped me gas money once and said, "You didn't get this from me." I always assumed he just didn't want to be involved. That he didn't care enough to step in. But now, maybe silence wasn't apathy. Maybe it was survival. And now, after everything, he reached out. Not with demands. Not with guilt. But with something so rare in my family it almost felt foreign. Accountability. The next day, I called the number I remembered from years ago. The landline he never changed. He picked up on the second ring. Hello? Uncle James. It's Noah. There was a pause. Then the kind of exhale people only let out when they've been waiting to breathe for a long time. Hey, kid. We didn't dive into emotion right away. That wasn't his style. We talked about weather. The porch he was fixing. A strange story about his neighbor's runaway goat. But after 10 minutes, he said something that stopped me. You know, your parents used to brag about you. Way back. Before they realized you weren't going to be exactly like them. I didn't respond. They never knew how to handle pride without control. He continued. If they couldn't take credit for your success, they'd rather pretend it didn't happen. Yeah, I said softly. That tracks. There was a pause again. But I saw it, Noah. All of it. And I just want you to know, not everyone in this family missed the point. That hit harder than any insult my parents had ever thrown. Because it wasn't a compliment. It was recognition. And sometimes, that's all anyone wants. To be seen. Fully. Without conditions. Before we hung up, he added one last thing. If you ever need anything, not money, not advice. Just someone who doesn't think you're a mistake, I'm here. I thanked him. Hung up. And stared at the wall for a long while. I thought about how strange it was, how you can go your whole life thinking you're invisible. only to find out someone was watching the whole time. Not judging. Just waiting. Waiting for the moment you stood up on your own, so they could finally say, "I knew you could." It happened late on a Thursday. I had just finished patching up a dent in the garage wall, thanks to my failed attempt at parking with confidence, and was mid-victory dance with a paint roller when my phone buzzed. Dad. I stared at the name. First time he'd called since the awkward 5-minute house visit. The one where he complimented my baseboards and left without saying a single real thing. I let it ring twice. Then 3 times. And just before voicemail kicked in, I answered. "Noah." His voice sounded the same. Measured. Like every word came with a receipt. "Hey. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." I didn't say anything. Just waited. He cleared his throat. "So, we've been thinking. Your mother and I." Ah. There it was. "We've been thinking." Code for we want something. Megan's lease is up. And she's been going through a rough patch, you know, since that little falling out. And we thought, since you have extra space. I actually laughed. Loud. "You want her to move in with me?" "Just for a little while. A few months. You've got the room. And you know, family helps family." "Right. Like how you helped me during college?" Silence. "Or at graduation? Or with the house? Or when Megan called me a failure for 4 years straight?" That was the past. We're trying to move forward. You mean now that she needs somewhere to crash? She's your sister, Noah." I took a deep breath. Then walked into my living room. The one I painted myself. With the windows I cleaned. The rug I unrolled while eating gas station sandwiches at midnight. The space I made my own, inch by stubborn inch. "No," I said simply. "Excuse me?" "No," I repeated. "She doesn't get a room here. Not after everything. Not after what she said. Not after what you said. So you're just going to turn your back on your own family?" "You did that first," I replied. "Back when you said my degree was just a piece of paper. Back when you toasted Megan's job promotion and told me I was too sensitive when no one showed up for mine. We didn't think you'd take it so personally." I smiled. "Yeah. That's kind of the problem." Another silence. This one longer. He wasn't used to not being in control of the conversation. "You really want to burn the bridge, huh?" "No," I said. "I just built a better one. One that leads away from you." And with that I hung up. No shouting. No dramatic music. Just clarity. Later that night, I walked out to the porch. The air was cool. My neighbors were laughing somewhere down the block. In the distance, someone's sprinkler clicked on. And for once, I didn't feel bitter. I felt free. They hadn't shown up when I graduated. They hadn't clapped when I achieved anything that didn't involve Megan. But I'd stopped needing their claps. Because I had walls that held. Floors that creaked in all the right places. A deed with my name. And peace that didn't come with conditions. They had each other. And I had everything I'd built, without them.